Why Golden Knights mean so much to Vegas. About 2 years ago, the NHL officially announced that there would be an expansion team in Las Vegas. The news was met with just as much enthusiasm as it was skepticism. Yes, the Vegas market was hungry for a pro team, but would another NHL team really flourish in the desert? After all, they'd tried it before with the Arizona Coyotes and look how that turned out. Many people were skeptical, especially me, but the Vegas experiment has proved to be an NHL expansion success that hasn't been seen in decades. I was certain it was doomed to fail. It is the law of hot take writing that you must be willing to eat your words when the occasion calls for it. I don't regret having written that column, but I'm also thrilled to be proven wrong. What's happening in Vegas now is something no one could have or did predict. The team's on-ice success is something many people have tried to explain, but everyone seems to fall a little short. Whether you attribute it to the Vegas flu, shrewd roster construction, or to a team of cast-offs playing with a chip on their shoulder, it's clear that the team's success isn't just a fluke of luck or timing. The Golden Knights started setting records at the start of the season and they haven't really stopped. They won 15 out of their first 22 games, making them the fastest first-year team in NHL history to reach that benchmark. By February 1st, they set an NHL record for most wins by a team in its inaugural season, with 34 victories, and they still had a third of the season left to play. Not only did the Knights become the first expansion team to make the playoffs since 1979-80, they ended up winning the Pacific Division. It's been a meteoric rise that has quickly captured the heart of the city, and it came when they desperately needed something good to believe in. Stephen R. Silvani, USA Today Sports. As Vegas steamrolled through their first playoff series and swept the Los Angeles Kings, my Twitter mentions started to ding with Vegas citizens pointing out my column from 2 years ago. Some were pleasantly gloating, some were frustrated that I overlooked their enthusiasm for a sports team, but the majority of people wanted to share what made them so proud to be Vegas residents. "You underestimated us," was the message. Just like many NHL teams had initially underestimated the Golden Knights. Every commentary on why Vegas team was doomed made the same fundamental mistake: no one thinks real people actually live here, said Jennifer Carlton, a 47-year-old attorney who has lived in Vegas for the past 11 years. Yes, there are a lot of tourists. But we have teachers and pharmacists too. We are a real city, one with a ton of pride. For a long time, people were looking for something to channel all that pride into. In the 90s they rallied around UNLV, but it wasn't the same as this. "People don't consider us a real city," said J.C. Martin, a marketing executive in the area who runs a website dedicated to happenings around the city. Martin had maybe watched a handful of NHL games before, but now considers himself a huge Knights fan. "There's real people here and we've been waiting for a team to root for. The Knights have become about something that's more than just sports." Kirby Lee, USA Today Sports. For a lot of fans, the Knights have been essential to building a sense of community for residents who have longed for something to connect them. Dave Ned Carney, who moved to the city 7 years ago from Utah, now considers Vegas as home. Ned Carney was a casual hockey fan who rooted for the Los Angeles Kings before the Knights came to town. "Now, I talk about hockey with everyone. I know it's a little thing, but you can talk about hockey with people waiting in line at the store, or just wave to someone wearing a jersey. We all have that in common now." The Golden Knights' home opener came less than a week after a gunman opened fire on the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival, killing 58 people. For people outside the city, the mass shooting has pushed back into our national consciousness, but the citizens of Vegas face daily reminders of the tragedy and haven't had the luxury of forgetting. "Everyone has someone, or knows someone who has a connection to the shooting," Ned Carney said. "It's painful and we live with it every day, but we're also trying to move forward." Unprompted, everyone who I spoke to or emailed with brought up the events of October 1st as a turning point. "I lost a friend in the massacre," Vegas resident Travis Turner wrote. "But, additionally, I felt that our city collapsed. The city that sounded busy was silent. For days people would barely speak. You could hear a pin drop on the freeway. Not a single horn honked. People rightfully so fell into a depression, a loss of hope. As sports often do, the Golden Knights have proved a way to rise above the tragedy and have been essential to helping the city recover emotionally from a horrendous act of terrorism. Having the team in this city during 1 October created a bond for all of us, said Dina Dubois-Froth, a native Las Vegan who runs special events for boxing fans. None of these guys were from Las Vegas, except for one, yet they became one of us. They were not in just NHL expansion team. They were our team. Many pointed to the catharsis of Knights' home opener on October 6, which paid tribute to the victims of the shooting and all the first responders in an emotional pregame ceremony. Michael Lang, a middle school teacher, was at home watching the tribute. "It was a real rallying point for the city," he said. "The entire ride has been amazing, but it all started with that opening ceremony and how they became a part of the community right away. It was the same for Turner. I felt a sigh of relief. What just felt like an eternity of hopelessness 5 days earlier quickly turned around and I felt Las Vegas' heartbeat start to beat faster, and stronger. That night in the T-Mobile Arena we built a sense of community that I had never felt before," he said. Trauma nurse Angela Stolt watches a Golden Knights game. Photo courtesy of Angela Stolt. The Knights have been able to provide people with a much-needed escape during a trying time. Among those is Angela Stolt, a registered nurse who works the night shift in the trauma ward at UMC, the only level 1 trauma center in Nevada.